We need some kind of
We
music.
need music.
We need music. Da-da-da-da.
Blake has music on his. I'm jealous. Like I got to
Awesome.
figure out how to get music. So we are live. It says we're live, so I'm going to assume that we're live.
I see that.
And I'm Heather, and this is this side on my picture. This is Deanna from Deanna Lawson-Langford Coaching. Yay!
Hey.
And this is our Coach Coffee Chat. I could read your whole introduction, your bio.
No.
Do you want me to?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
no. This
Not
is
while
just
I'm sitting here.
no.
But I did post it for people to check out. And I don't think I posted a link. So at some point, we'll post a link to your stuff so that people can find you. But I was super interested to talk to you. So I've been using these coach coffee chats to kind of bring different coaches or even just different professionals in that I know who can offer some help and some assistance and some ideas on a whole variety of things. I talked to Dr. Greg about the brain and how to get the brain going. I talked to a woman about energy, like using, like balancing your energy. I talked to Patty, the bookkeeping lady. Like, there's been a whole variety. And today, yay, is Deanna, and we're talking about, what did I say we were talking about? Business coaching versus life coaching.
Yeah, and kind of how that all can blend together, or some people need it to blend together, right?
Well, sometimes when I think about it, like you can't really separate them.
Yes.
I mean, your business is part of your life. Maybe the business is a subset of it, but right. So, what is your view? Like, I wanted to know your either or idea. Like, what your thoughts were.
I think sometimes, and so I'm not down on one particular style of coaching, not at all. If you are saying, hey, I need to do this XYZ to build my business, we were just talking about sales pages and whatnot, right?
Yes.
And so absolutely, then you need a coach for that particular component.
Right.
Or then sometimes folks are saying, hey, I have a particular relationship that I need to work on, or whatever it is. And then it's really that life coaching side. What I've found for me and for the people that I work with, and so these are the folks that I'm really connecting with and sort of speaking to our experience, is that piece of sometimes we enter in a conversation with our coach and it seems to be business related. And yet then things kind of take an about face and you're like, actually, you know what? This is something I'm struggling with in my life that's impacting my business, or something in my business that's impacting my life. So that whole piece, and I have found, over this whole pandemic time too, it's nearly impossible as, a solopreneur and a caregiver and a mom and all of that to say, okay, this is siloed here and this is siloed here and never the twain shall meet, right? And it is all that big pile of stuff that comes at us at once to figure out how to blend that. And so, there was always that sort of work-life balance, which I think is a big myth, because it makes us feel like, if I give 8 hours to this, I have to give 8 hours to this. And that's just not realistic, right?
I guess if you're a numbers person, you would try to calculate, that kind of thing. I remember, and this was like 14 years ago, I was asked to do a talk on work-life balance at the University of Ottawa, because that's where I got my degree. And I got up on stage. I'm like, you're not necessarily going to think that what I'm going to tell you is what I'm going to tell you, but there's no such thing.
How was that received?
Actually, it went pretty well. It was, you can't find this magical balance. It's like, do you like what you're doing? Is it energizing you or sucking your energy? That was kind of my take on it at the time. And my take on that has evolved. But I mean, like you were saying, and the pandemic has made it almost worse. But you can't, the thing about life coaching and business coaching is there's always you, right? So you can't take you out of the business. So your life is going to impact your business, and your business impacts your life. They're always intertwined. And the balance it's making sure that you're happy and you're healthy and you have enough energy to do what you want to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for a while, if people were working outside of their home, I think you had this really false sense of balance, right? Because
Right.
at least you were somewhere else. Like you were like, no, I'm at work, so all things are good. Oh, I'm at home. So, and then I think that was totally false. But I think at least because we were in a different spot, we felt kind
We
of like,
felt different. Yeah.
I know we had this sort of, and yet now, and again, it's the lived experience and it's what I hear from my clients, so it's not for everybody, but it is that piece of like, okay, all of a sudden everything needs me at once. Like as soon as you hit live, as I said, one of my dogs came over and like her little chin went on my knee, right?
She
Okay.
lifted her up.
What's that?
She's too big to lift up, isn't she?
She is too big to lift up. Yes, for sure. And so that's just it, right? And so that's lovely that she can do that and that I'm working and she's here. But I just mean, it is figuring out how the balance piece for me, like you said, is out the window. And so there is that integration. And then there is the blend, which is the word I kind of settled on that I really liked, because it is that kind of blend of, okay, we figure out how to put all these things together and help them work and live kind of in that harmonious way, and figure out how we shift between things as we need to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And sometimes the shifting is the hard part, I think.
Yeah.
We can feel like we have all our balls juggling,
Mm-hmm.
but if something throws it off, we have trouble kind of pivoting. I hate the word pivot. As of
Yeah.
2020, I hate the word pivot.
I know, I agree. I agree.
Strike that off the English language.
Totally. I agree. We have that. So one of the things that I talk to a lot of clients about is, what are the root systems that you're using? Because not that the system solves the crisis,
No.
but when we can have that base of like, these are the systems for business, overall for my time, for my meal planning, for my laundry, like when you can implement all of that, and then I often will say when we talk about juggling balls, I was up for a walk with my neighbor today and we were talking about that. She said, I dropped all the balls. And I said, just to remind you gently, some of them are rubber. Most of them are rubber.
Right.
All of them are glass. So you got to figure out which ones are the glass ones and you have to attend to those, right? So it's that kind of perspective, which that analogy I had from a wise coach that we both know.
Yes.
And, I'm sure you've heard that one, but I really love that because it helps that perspective. But when we have that base of those great systems, and then I build on those systems like a pyramid, right? So the next piece, and almost at the top of that, is what I call like your quick assessment system, meaning when there's a crisis and you think, oh, holy moly, okay, I know my day is going to go much differently and I need to go attend to this particular thing. That quick assessment system helps you go, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here. These are the 3 things I need to do in the 30 minutes I'll have today. And at least things will move forward for the day. And then I can go attend to that crisis, right? Because it is figuring out how to keep the glass balls in the air, right? And how to keep business moving forward. Because like you said, it's you and the buck stops with you. So we've got to figure out how to keep the ball in the air and rolling for that one, right?
Especially with solopreneurs, right? The buck does totally stop with you.
Yes.
I mean, if you are in a regular job employee and something happens and you have to call in sick, there's probably not that many glass balls that are I like that analogy. I usually get the Matrix analogy, like dodging bullets. I'm usually dodging bullets. Same
but
coach,
those,
different analogy.
Right?
But, it's just, I guess, his knowledge of your movie watching. But and it can be hard in that moment because you feel so overwhelmed. If you have something to just kind of pause and take a breath, almost like it's okay to take a moment to assess where you are, right? And it was actually my chiropractor once said to me, because I made a comment about juggling balls, and he was the one who said, the reason you drop them is because someone throws another one at you and you can't catch it because you've got too many. So it's like, his suggestion was maybe put 1 or 2 down, which for some people, I think that is also something to consider, right? Like have your systems in place for the things you need to get done, but also an evaluation of, is there stuff that you don't need to be juggling?
Totally. And that's one of the pieces that I will talk to people about too, to say, what can you actually let go of? Like, what are you holding on to just because, and I say with love and kindness, but because you're thinking you're the martyr, like, you don't have to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Somebody else can take care of that. And then I often, as you know, my background is in fitness. So I will often say to folks, like, if you were an athlete, nobody would expect you to be using the same volume and intensity and duration of your training. You go up and down depending on where you are in your season. And we need to let ourselves do that as well and say, this maybe isn't the season to be taking on extra things, or this is the season I need to hire somebody to clean my house, or whatever the case is, right? And really getting real. And I know I don't know, especially I think for a lot of women, it's hard for us to ask for help. We feel like we need to do it all, but
you're the go-to, get everything done. I'm Superwoman.
Yeah, which I just think, okay, you can be Superwoman, but you're going to be a really sick Superwoman.
And it's not sustainable.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I actually liked your fitness analogy because it reminded me of like when I was running marathons. You had the days where you put in a lot, and then you have the days where like, no, today's a rest day.
Yes.
What? Rest? Like these days, rest, pshaw, that's not something people do. Only the weak rest. No, that's not true. I did not say that in reality. But it is interesting. Women especially, and I think like this is very stereotypical, right? Like the caregivers. I wanted to hear about what complicated caregiving was, because you gave me a little complicated caregiving tip. It's like, oh, what's that? That's interesting. Because they do end up often. Now, I'm not saying that men don't take care and don't help, but traditionally. And I think women still feel some obligation sometimes to be the caregiver.
Absolutely.
Plus, they've added on the other juggling things that they're trying to do. And then they sacrifice their health, which is not what ideal at the end of the day, right?
No, absolutely.
So what's the complicated caregiving?
Well, I think, for a lot of folks, like, we'll talk about what are the different roles that you have, right? So those are listing out all of those things. And people will laugh and they're like, really, another list? And I think, but until you have really sat back and done an analysis of what are the roles that you're filling right now, like we just said, what are the things you can get rid of?
Yeah.
And then what are the things you really have to fulfill? And that is like my first step when I go through this process of, I talk about sort of total wellness for the entrepreneur. And that's the first step, like, get real. What are you actually prioritizing? What are you actually wasting time on? What are you, because until we're honest with ourselves, how can we move forward?
Right.
So, talking about that. And then one of the, I'm not sure if I would use the word label, or one of the terms or categories we would say is that, you're a caregiver, if you're a parent, or you're caregiving for, a spouse, or an elderly parent, or whoever, right? There's lots of different ways.
Dogs. Do you have dogs?
Dogs, yeah. I guess so.
They require care. Come on.
They do. So there's a perfect example. So my dogs are not in the complicated caregiving situation, right? Now, one of our dogs was actually pretty sick for a little while. So in that moment, and she's completely fine now.
Okay, good.
But one of that, that would be an example of where things shift into that complicated caregiving, meaning there's crisis attached to that. There is extra expense. There are other things that are sneaking in now.
Mental energy.
Totally.
Mental energy goes
more
into
emotion. Yeah. Like, where are you? And, and I don't know everybody's situation, but for example, if I had, a parent that I needed to take to the grocery store once a week, that's caregiving. Of course it is.
Yeah.
If I had a parent that had Alzheimer's, that I also had it, like, that's where the complicated piece for me comes in. So I think we need to further define, like, we know all the things we hear about caregiving now and the burnout and whatnot. And we have to, I think, identify what stage of caregiving are we in. And then it helps us to say, okay, now I know I can put it in my calendar because I only just have to take the dog to the vet once a month or whatever Or, is this like crisis mode that I
Right.
actually have to make sure my car is here because I might have to take the dogs to an emergency vet. So, because then there's other strategies and systems we have to put into play. There's other pieces of help we have to start to look for if we're in that complicated caregiving component, and if you're an entrepreneur, right?
And I wonder sometimes, like, because of the last year and a half, so many people have been working from home, if they've had a taste of entrepreneur life almost in some ways, because
maybe
they're connected to their job, but in some ways, like a lot of entrepreneurs, it's a very lonely-ish. I'm not going to say we're lonely, but it's a very solo job. I mean, I was talking to a client earlier today who's been working from home, and he is a people person and wants to talk to people, and he's in his apartment behind his computer, right? So, and being an entrepreneur, often you spend, even as a coach, long periods of time where it's just you and your laptop.
That's right.
Working away.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about working from home this year. They may have had that taste of what it's like to be a solopreneur. So some of what we're talking about is specifically, small business owners and all the things they have to juggle. But in some ways, they've kind of gotten a little bit of a taste of it. Maybe not the same stresses because they're not worrying about financials necessarily as much if they're still working, but
could be. And I think too, I mean, we know to say, oh, we're kind of stereotyping, and yes, we are, but we know that women bore the brunt of most of this pandemic stuff. Like, that is the reality. It's not that I'm kind of making an assumption. That is actually what the, anecdotal and the actual research has shown us.
Right.
And so it is to say, because one of the other things, I kept saying was, yes, even as an entrepreneur or as a parent or as whatever role you fill, you had a village surrounding you. Typically, you had your work folks, or if you're an entrepreneur, you still had your networking events where you got to be in person.
I miss networking.
No. And so even now, like, what we miss is, we sign on to our Zoom meeting. Hello, we dive in, you exit, you push the button to exit. Whereas in person, you had a chance to chit chat before, you had a chance to stroll to the parking lot and chit chat after. So we're missing our village of people around, right? And, I see that we have a neighbor that has a young child and is expecting another young child. And I said to her a while ago something about the earlier centers. I don't know if you're familiar. They're like little drop-in centers. Well, of course, they were closed over the pandemic. And she said, I don't know what that is. And I thought, oh, that's how I survived having two young children some days, was somewhere to go where my kids could play and engage and you could talk to other parents about. So it's been really challenging. And again, it's that kind of blend of, well, how do we regain that community, right? And thankfully, I hope we're moving to some more of those community pieces opening, but it's
There's
still
parks, I guess, until it gets cold for parents, but
sure, yeah. I mean, the kids are back in school and whatnot too.
And people have been finding very inventive ways to connect. And I've been into some networking meetings where you'll be all together and then they'll just break you out into a room with 2 or 3 other people to chat. But even then, it's like, because it's timed, you have 15 minutes. So it's like, say what you got to say, and then you're out.
Elevator pitch, and then you're out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of actually building a relationship, like.
I mean, I still enjoy those meetings, and I still go to them because I think they're great. Oh yeah, we're the same. We're the same networking. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely, absolutely.
But it is not the same as standing at the breakfast buffet talking about whatever, right? And there are the systems are interesting. So I think a lot of people wing it.
Yes.
And I'm a big winger of a lot of things. So far, it's gotten me to where I am. But at the same time, I recognize and appreciate systems. And I actually teach people to put their own systems in place.
Right.
Which is, well, my accountant side, right? So my accountant side, my 15 years as an accountant, I still can teach people systems. And I do have systems in place. But for some things, I wing it. But I read a book recently. Did I tell you about this book, Chillpreneur?
I don't think so.
It's by this Australian lady, Denise Duffield Thomas. If she's listening, hearts for her. Not that she'll listen, but just
You
in
never
case.
know.
Just in case it comes up. But she calls it a keyless life. And
Keyless
she uses
life?
keyless. So she
Keyless,
uses
okay.
the example when she had little kids and she had a minivan and her arms would be full and she'd be trying to get to the car and she's like, where are my keys? And she couldn't find them. So she said,
Oh,
I installed the little proximity thing. So the door would just open magically without
right.
needing to find the keys. So I could put everything down. And she said, that's brilliant. What else can I do to automate parts of my life? So things like, if you're too busy getting a house cleaner, if you are even if you have a regular job. I can remember when I worked in corporate and I had to commute and I could just not face cleaning on the weekends because I was like, this is my time to rest.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to clean the house. So I had a housekeeper.
Right.
And, she's gone, like her company is actually quite large now. She's got to the point where I think she has food delivery or she, has somebody cook her meals or whatever. So when you get a big enough, a big enough of stuff you're trying to manage, what can you hire out, automate? Keyless. I like the keyless thing. It's like,
keyless.
That's brilliant.
And
I think that's part of what your systems is. So systems take away that like always last minute decision making.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this stems from, organization has something that has always come, in planning events and stuff, it just has always come naturally because of the way, my brain looks. And I think if I have to do something more than once, I'm going to create a method to do it because it's like the grocery list. I have a template that I just go through, check, 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 check.
That's amazing.
I bought it at Indigo and I saw it and thought, oh, this is my person. Whoever made this, you are my person because that's it, right? I don't have to think about. Now, I actually was listening to a podcast the other day about making sure everything's not automated because then it takes away a lot of that neuroplasticity building. And I thought that was a great
creativity, right?
And so I thought, well, that's great. And then I kind of assessed. I thought, no, I do a lot of not automated stuff, but it's the automation in my life that allows me to do the other things. And, it came from years of having two kids that played competitive hockey, that I would have two kids in different cities and I was managing a staff team and, and people are like, how do you do all that? And I'm like, I just figure out how to make things, work. So I don't have to be with them, not the kids, but with the particular items. Well, maybe
sometimes you don't want to be with the kids, right?
Yeah.
Go play. Leave me alone.
That's right. And so it is that component, right? And it's funny because people would say, like, how do you manage all the things? And I thought, I need to start sharing that because people are struggling with those things, right? So, I have that like time management system, wellness system, because that's really huge, right? And that's certainly something we share is that focus on wellness because without our health, we've got nothing.
Well, I thought that was interesting that was it the other day we were talking about you had developed the system for wellness that was, oh my God, my brain.
It's Friday afternoon, I know.
I know. Also, I took 6 days off last week, but not really. I taught kayaking 6 days in a row.
Wow.
But it was the way you were developing a kind of a coaching model.
Yeah.
But on the wellness, you were doing a business plan for wellness. That's it.
Yeah. No, you got it.
Came back.
Well, I think as entrepreneurs, I'm a really big fan of a strength-based approach. I think life and things and other people tell us that there's something wrong with us too regularly. They tell us that we're bad. They tell us all these really negative messages.
You shouldn't have done this. You should do that.
Yeah, you should. Stop shoulding all over yourself, right? So we say, well, wait a minute. Actually, I got that from Sex and the City, one of their first episodes.
Oh my God. My husband.
And there's a reboot now, which is so exciting. But, it's one of those pieces to say, where are your strengths already? What are you doing so well? Then that's amazing. How do you just tweak that for the other stuff? So entrepreneurs, not all, because I know I do a lot of business coaching with folks sometimes on this, but I say, what are your goals for, Q1, 2, 3, 4? How do you break down your year? What's your 5-year plan? Like, we do that stuff well. And then I just think, why can't you do that with your wellness? And it was my own experience too, when I started my business and, had some of that complicated caregiving in my life and said, oh my gosh, I'm not managing well. And then thankfully my coach said, hey, use this wellness wheel and start to strategize weekly. And then I thought, oh, bing, it is about those quarterly goals you make for your business. Make those quarterly goals for your emotional wellness, your spiritual wellness, your physical wellness. And as soon as we start to talk about the language matters, right?
That a dog.
What is your, ROI on actually working out 5 days a week? Like, how is that going to impact your energy in your business? And people start to go, oh, there's a return on investment in my wellness? Really? Well, of course there is. Wellness folks know that, but until you've implemented it and you've experienced it, you don't yet get it, but you will.
And I think sometimes, because I have been writing my copy for my launch of the 6-week program, similar to yours. I'm just doing this little 6-week back to me little. It's not little.
No, it's not little. It's awesome. 6 weeks. Awesome. Yeah.
6 weeks of awesome, where I'm trying to say to people, if not instinctively, historically that you can do more, you can achieve more, and you can feel better if you take care. Now I've got noises going on. If you can take care of yourself and prioritize it.
Yes.
But so that, but somehow there's a disconnect between knowing it and doing and like implementing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you don't take that time to figure out how, like we've taken our time to figure out how we're going to, pay the rent, how we're going to, get this project done, how we're going to, it's like, it does kind of need to be a project on its own that we put that attention and energy on. So I thought that was brilliant when you came up with that plan.
Oh, thank you. And you know what? It's that lived experience because, it's funny as a, so I'm a fitness instructor and personal trainer, and people often just say, oh, you must, work out every day and you must have, and I'm like, no, I've struggled with my fitness and my nutrition and all of those things through this pandemic as well. I've fallen off, the wagon or however we want to say, right? And so
lost your way.
What's that?
Lost your way, got distracted
or whatever, right? Yeah. And so that happens. And these are the things that are going to happen. And like when I teach people to be fitness instructors too. And I always say, it's not about perfection teaching a class in choreography. It's about when you make a mistake, how you recover. That's the sign of a good instructor. And that's the sign of what we're looking for, right? We all make mistakes. That's how we learn and grow. And then how do we recover? How do we get back on? What did we learn from it? So that was one of the things that I thought, well, I need a plan because I fell off even as a fitness pro, I fell off this, things that were really important for my physical and mental health. And so, instead of this siloed piece we always have to say, it's only me that struggles with this, there's something wrong with me. I thought, you know what? Other people must be dealing with this too.
Because sure.
We're more alike than we are different, right? When we look at the root of things. So other folks need this type of idea, right? So that was kind of what the thing. And then hearing from my entrepreneurial clients, like, that are moms that have young kids. I was chatting with a woman this week that has 3 babies under 4, I think is her oldest. And I thought, holy moly. And she runs her own business and she works full time. And I just,
good for her.
And then I said, and how is that going? Like, what do you need? What do you, and that was the piece of what's the one small shift I can make to help start to prioritize mom a little bit more. Right. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, and then, I mean, again, not trying to generalize or that kind of thing, but moms often feel like they just have to spend all their time with their kids, right? It's like, I knew this was quite a number of years ago, but I knew a new mom who had twins and they had not been without their kids for 1.5 years. So I was like, wow, you didn't even like go out for a coffee? But she didn't want to, she just felt like it was her obligation to be there 24/7. It's like, You need
Which
a
is,
break.
you know what, which is so funny. We have these mindsets. And I think, you know, when we're coaches, and I don't know about you, but people are like, oh, you don't struggle with any of that. And I'm like, I struggle with all of that. That's where all the skills came from.
Right, exactly.
And so
I
even
worked my way through it.
totally, like we have all been through that. Like when we brought, so we have two dogs. We brought our first dog home. It was September of 2020. And, you know, she was a puppy. She was a little bit of a
Pandemic puppy.
dog. Totally. Both of mine are pandemic puppies, but, you know, she's a sweet dog. And she was a little bit of a stinker. Like she was a handful when she was young. And I remember thinking, how the heck? And I had to teach like 8 hours of virtual classes in a day. And I just remember thinking, how am I going to do this? Well, somebody said to me, well, there's like dog daycare. And I was like, why? She's my responsibility. Why would I? And so
And that's a dog.
I know, and but that's the whole mindset of like when I was, you know, I didn't want to send my kids to daycare. Now, of course, they thrived in daycare, but it's where we get that mindset of saying, and now, you know, we have another one, and as soon as it was back to school, I'm like, oh, they're going to puppy daycare on Tuesdays and they're so happy and they love it because you've done the work to find the right spot for them.
Well,
And
and
it is
for dogs and kids, it's socialization, right?
totally, yeah,
Which we
yeah,
sometimes forget
yes,
that we're not taking something away from them, right?
yeah.
We're allowing them more experiences. Bark, bark.
Take them as their stuff. Take them as there they are on cue. Now they're going to wrestle. I know. Now they're going to wrestle. So now they get kicked out to the backyard. So.
It's all good. It's part of life. I like
Yeah.
your thing about, you know, teachers making mistakes and recovering. If you had seen me, I mean, I teach the Tai Chi Yoga Fusion. If you'd seen how many times I've fallen over
Oh,
and
oh dear.
teaching people to balance. Whoa, the teacher
Yeah.
fell down. I
Yeah.
just laugh. I just laugh
Yeah.
and get up.
Well, it is, right?
I'm like a comedy show when I teach class.
But you know, that's the piece. It is real life. The dogs bark when you're doing stuff, and you know, and it's just to figure out how to move forward with that, with those challenges, right? And
So how many systems do you have people work through, or does it depend on their?
yeah, so it would depend on sort of what they need, but initially we sort of start off. So we talk about a wellness, of course, and that's where everything begins because it is that sixth component of wellness analysis, right?
Right.
Emotional, spiritual, physical, professional, what did I miss? Relationship, financial, and really see where they feel, because that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the person is expressing and what they need, right?
Yeah, totally.
So we kind of work from that wellness approach. That's a great starting point. And sometimes the systems are around there. But what I most often find and what I'm, you know, working towards creating that framework of is time management. That is the missing component for so many people. And I think when you're a person that like just you kind of do that naturally, again, you don't realize that is that strength-based piece, right?
Right.
That, oh, somebody does this really naturally. Everybody must do that.
Right.
No, let's see what we can create to help other folks, right? And then some of the other things, one of the frameworks is really talking about how to set boundaries. Because I know, like that is the thing that, again, it connects with time management. Because if you're saying yes to everything because you feel like you have to, then your time is no longer your own.
Right.
And so that's a really big component, that boundary setting. And then one of the other pieces is I talk about like building your dream team. And it might be hiring a virtual assistant. It might be hiring somebody to do some social media components, or I don't know, all of those business things. And who else? What else do you need? Do you need daycare? Do you need somebody to help you with your house? Do you need
the keyless life?
Totally. Like those are the other pieces, right? Who is on that dream team of? And yes, for a lot of folks, and they're like, well, I don't have the money to do that. So then I'll start to say, but you have great skills and abilities. What can you start trading? Like, what are the things that you could do? You know, could you do some coaching for some accounting or whatever, right? Like, how do you make it happen? Because entrepreneurs are really crafty folks, and
they're very crafty. And one of the things that I think sometimes people don't realize is they say, I can't afford it. But if you wrote down all of the tasks that you do, let's just say in your business, although also in your life, we'll start with business. If you wrote down all the tasks and you looked at, and I'll just use this kind of analogy. So what would be the pay scale of that job, right?
Yeah.
And as the owner or the main income producer of your business, is that your pay scale? And if it's
Mhm.
not, you should be doing stuff of your pay scale, which is generating more revenue, because the more you can focus your time and attention on the things that generate revenue, then
Mhm.
you have time to hire the people to do the other stuff
Yeah.
would be more than happy to do it for you. And I'm not using pay scale as like saying you're better than them, or it's not like one's better than the other. But if you're saying web design,
Mhm.
like how long does it take me to build a web page? It takes me days and days and days.
Mhm.
Where so that's days and days and days that I could be doing
Be
something that
earning. Yeah,
earns me revenue.
absolutely. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if I took it and gave it to someone who that was their
Their
innate
thing. Yeah.
skill, that was what they
Yeah.
were really good at, and they could do it in like 3 hours,
Yeah.
of course I would pay for it.
Yes.
It's like, and there are lots of those people out there with super amazing skill sets just waiting for you.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and I've been listening to a lot of
Absolutely.
money mindset stuff. It's like the cyclical, you have to send
Yeah.
out and receive. It's the
Mhm.
circulatory system of the planet.
Yeah.
It's giving and receiving, giving and receiving.
Yeah, absolutely. And I often think when we get caught up in our own heads, right, about I should do this and I should do that. And I just stop and say, is it what you want to do or need to do? Like, is it what your passion is? But also, is it what you need to do? Like, you need to have a good handle on your financials of your business and
Oh,
things
for
like
sure.
that. Yeah, of course, like the need to do's. And is it your skill set?
Right.
Do what you're really good at and outsource the rest. Like, that's the piece. Now I'm okay with tech. I probably could have built my own website. Did I want to spend all the time to do that? I did not. And I hired a company to do that, and I looked for a small business to support local, a lovely
Right.
husband wife team that did that for me. Now they've gone on to doing such amazing things too. And it's much better than I could have ever created. And again, like you said, it freed up my time to do the other things because it's just that piece of saying, like, what are you really good at? Like, you're doing your thing because it's your thing.
Yeah.
And maybe some people want to learn that web design or whatever the case is, and that's awesome. But if
And,
it's not and it's draining and it's impacting your revenue, then you've got to.
and sometimes, so like using the example of financials, so a lot of people, it's not their skill set at all. You do need to understand it if you own your own business, but you
Agreed.
don't have to necessarily do it.
Right.
So when I'm coaching small business people, I mean, we talked about the business coach versus life coach. When I'm
Yeah.
coaching them on the business side of
Yes. Yes.
coaching, I will teach people the basics of, and that's like one of the courses that I had last year, like the basics of
Great. Yeah.
what's going on, what are you looking at, what do you need to understand, what are the
Mhm.
key things you need to understand when you're looking at it, so when you do outsource it, when it comes back, you can look at it with like a analytical eye to go, this
Yeah.
doesn't make sense
That's
compared
right.
to what I think, or what is this, and know what questions to ask.
For
But it
sure.
doesn't mean you have to do it,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
there's lots of really good small accountants out there, and
Mhm.
like little web developers. There's a web developer who lives around the corner from me who
Mhm.
we got to build an art site for us. It was just amazing, and so much better than anybody in the art club could have done.
Right.
And I fall prey myself to, because I'm a puzzle solver.
Okay.
I am. That's my brain. I'm a puzzle
Yeah.
solver brain. I like trying to figure out how to do it myself. But then I get to the point where I'm like, okay, I figured it out. Now I'm bored. So that's when I like to pass it off to someone else. Now,
Okay.
really, in reality, I should just get someone else to do it from the
And is
beginning.
that the best return on investment for you and the investment of your
Not
time?
always. Like we said, we've made all the mistakes.
That's true. That's true.
Right? But
Yeah.
I do recognize that I'm a puzzle solver brain. So when I find myself like diving in to figure something out, I go,
Mhm.
oh, I have to have that pause for myself and that permission to pause myself and think,
Mhm.
is this really how I should be spending my time right
Yes.
now?
That's a good
Maybe
question.
not.
That is a good question. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's when I think Rod has me dodging bullets.
Right. I know.
Just
And
like on the Matrix.
yeah, absolutely. And that question I actually used with a client last week, and because she said, well, how do I, and that's one of the pieces, right? When people are working for themselves, like you've got nobody that's like, is this project done? I need it by such and such a time. No, you have to be true to yourself. And so what's interesting to me is that we struggle with that more when it's for us. And yet really it should be the other way around, right?
Right.
For my boss, I should be like, meh, I didn't get it done. For myself, we shouldn't be breaking any promises to ourselves.
No.
So if we notice that, again, you know, with no judgment, that's something that's interesting that we would want to consider figuring out those questions and systems to get us back on track.
Right.
To say, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this what I planned? And how do I think I'm actually moving such and such forward in this component when I'm doing whatever or maybe not supposed to be doing?
Right. A podcast that I was listening to was she has a mantra, because she has the same thing. She tends to get distracted, and she's got a digital course that she sells. So when she starts getting distracted, her coach gave her this. She said, what do we say? And her digital course is called Money. I think it's called Money Boot Camp or something. She's like, all roads lead to boot camp. All roads lead to boot camp. So if it's the road's not leading to boot camp, you don't take that road. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah. It's like and like we talk about pausing and reflecting and realizing, but you need that break. You need that pattern interrupt of habitually, like I need the pattern interrupt of habitually doing everything that I think is cool and I want to figure out. I need that. Hold on. So she uses that kind of mantra in her head to stop herself from doing something totally unrelated to what her business is. And so I'm still working on I'm a work in progress.
We're all a work in progress, right? Like that's the piece, is that we're always learning and then reflecting and being able to grow and do things better.
They're back.
Now they're back. And doing things better, meaning not better than anybody else, but better than we had been doing them, and growing as we were looking for, right?
And I mean, I was talking to someone today about who I think would he's in a job that he doesn't enjoy, and he's not sure what he wants to do. And we were discussing his interests and his priorities, and it's like, you would make a great coach. And the thing that, in my view, that make good coaches is you really like people and you want to help them, and you have some experience on stuff that you've messed up.
Yeah.
Not in a, like, I don't use messed up as a bad thing, because it's just part of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you've like, I've figured this out. Let me show you how not to do that. Or maybe fast track past it. Like, you might still have to experience it, every kid still has to experience heartbreak once or twice. But maybe I can help you figure out how to move through it. Oh my gosh, you just replaced your little kids with some little four-legged kids.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You're like, come on, honey, get out of here.
That's true.
It's all good. It's like, I've been on webinars where I was on a webinar and it was a recorded webinar. This is what's so funny.
Oh.
She posted it and I was watching the recording, and she sells it like as a tiny offer, if anybody knows what a tiny offer is. So it's just like a little 4-video something series. And in one of the videos, her kid comes in and says, Dad wants to know if you want Chipotle for dinner. And she's like, I made a recording. But she didn't edit it out.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, that definitely, live was not much we can do about the barking dogs, but recorded.
I thought it was hilarious. I was like, that's beautiful. I love that you left that in there, because that just shows, yes, this is life. I'm in my home office. My kid wants to know if I want Chipotle for dinner. Right? It's just like,
oh, did they have Chipotle for dinner? That's the interesting question.
Apparently she said yes.
That's funny. That's the reminder of when it was mid-pandemic, right? When you go back and look at things you've created and you're like, wow, look at my hair. Yeah, I hadn't been, or whatever, right? Or
And
yeah.
my hair always looks like that, Deanna. Kidding. I'm kidding. I don't really care. But it is true. I mean, sometimes we forget that everybody, like you said it earlier, everybody's going through their version of life. Everybody's got struggles and stuff they're working on and stuff that they would like to be better. And it's not whether you because perfection, I think I said this in a meeting that you and I were in at one point, you know, I don't know if you were there, where a therapist once said to me, you know, the rose, when it hits that moment of perfection, immediately starts to die. I'm like, okay,
yes,
I don't want to die. So I'll just keep striving towards it, but I don't want to actually reach it. I just want to keep tweaking and improving things. So,
well, because there's no such thing as perfection. That's the other thing. You know, folks are often get to
unless
that
you're
point.
Nadia Comaneci, but I don't know if anybody will get that reference.
No, but outside of her 10 on whatever event that was,
Whatever
right?
event that was 100 years ago.
Yeah, it was 100 years ago, I think. But it, you know, that's the piece. Like, I just think we're just so in our own way when we're like, well, it has to be a certain way. It has to be this. It has to be that. Because people are going to say, well, you know what? People are sitting on their computer saying X, Y, Z. They're not out there trying it. They're not out there doing it. So they don't have a right to criticize you because you're trying, right? So.
And not to diss social media, because I know we're streaming on social media right now, but sometimes it can give you the false impression that everybody's life is perfect and your life sucks.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Especially things like Instagram and stuff that are, you know, photo based and video based. And it's just that piece
highly
that
curated.
Yeah, absolutely. Highly curated. And I think that's the really important piece, that not that we don't have those things, but we just recognize that, you know, in frame. So right behind my laptop are all the stuff I moved off of this cabinet to be able to, you know, have a better view, like my husband's whiskey bottles and the family pictures and all of the,
yeah. Right behind my green screen is chaos.
And that's just it, right? Everybody's got a green screen and everybody's got chaos. And, you know, until we kind of cut ourselves some slack, you know, I don't know, we won't move forward as much as we could.
And I guess that's, I mean, circling all the way back around to the beginning, that's kind of what we both do, really, like help people sort out their chaos as best they can, figure out how to get systems in place to, how would you phrase that? Systems in place to.
Well, you know, I just talk about like working with entrepreneurs, for example, helping them build their business and their wellness. Like that's what it comes down to, because without one, without wellness, we don't have the other. Right. And we work a lot with fitness professionals too. And, you know, helping them getting trained and certified and building their business as well. But at the end of the day, without that opportunity to kind of create that root of some kind of wellness component, right? We can't build upon those things until we have really created that solid foundation, right?
Yeah. And it does take time. We are a society of instant gratification.
Yes.
And I can remember early in my massage career, a woman came in one day and she was suffering from headaches. And I knew what it was. It was because she spent so much time at work and stressed out. And she said, "Isn't there just a pill I can take?" And I was like, no, there isn't. I'm sorry. Like, taking care of yourself just takes a little time.
Yeah.
And you won't see the results immediately. It took you time to become this stressed out. So we have to like unravel all of that, right?
Absolutely.
The same with all wellness. I mean, not the body takes its time to do things. And, but knowing that the ultimate reward is worth it, even if it's a delayed reward. So I try to remind myself of that. Even, you know, I fall trapped to the instant gratification.
Yeah.
Drug.
Right? Because we're like, okay, I want, especially if you're that action taker, right? Like, I want this and I want this. And I remember when I launched my business, and a dear girlfriend of mine said to me, because I was frustrated, right? And she said, "Deanna, you can't rush experience. Like you have to sit in it. Like that's what I was like, but I want to do. And she's like, but you have to do it. You have to sit in it and go through it before you have the privilege to be able to learn from it or something. I can't remember exactly, but I thought, no, it's a good point. We can't rush that.
Yeah.
You move away from those difficult emotions. But
it is very true. That was very good advice. You should send her a thank you.
I shall. I have done actually. Yes.
So you have a program right now. Is that what you, is your program open for registrations or is it a one-on-one?
Yeah, not yet. So I'm not program-based just yet. What actually we're building right now is a community on Facebook called the Business Life Blend. So we're starting to build that community. And I'm coaching, and I have been coaching for a little while, one-on-one with entrepreneurs, helping them with their business and their wellness and making sure that both of those pieces are covered.
Right.
And then that late this year, early next year is when the program will launch. And it will be something like 6 weeks to systems or the 6-week system to total wellness. But I do have some other resources that I'm starting to create to start to help folks with that information because I don't want to hold all that back until the course is ready.
I know, right? You're like, I have so many ideas. It's our instant gratification. I want to pick them all now. Oh, there it is. I'm going to share your Facebook group. I just went to find it.
Yeah,
I'm a member. I'm a member.
I know you are.
Is that an advertisement for something one time? And I'm a member. I can't remember.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember.
It was probably from the 70s.
Yeah, but folks can just pop onto my website, DeannaLangfordCoaching.com. That's really, really easy to remember, and just subscribe there. And that's where I send, all of the stuff regularly and regular, I do a weekly on Wednesdays blog posts about wellness, and right in the middle of a 6-week series on wellness blog post series too. So, yeah.
Oh, I've seen that going by on all of the social medias. We're everywhere.
On everything, so you'll get it inundated with it. I'm sorry.
So I just posted your Facebook group, and
awesome. Thank you.
Can you see the comments? Can you see that did I spell your website name right?
Yes, you did. I had. Yep. There we go.
Okay, beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure. I mean, my intention is to try and offer people as many resources and thoughts as I can about how to have wellness and success in whatever form that takes for them, right? So I talk to a lot of health and fitness professionals, kind of like you. Mine is more on the massage therapy world.
Right.
And I talk to a lot of executives from my executive life, which
yes,
two sides of a coin. I feel like one's too much on one side and one's too much on the other side. So I'm trying to get them to flip their coins.
Yeah.
But similar to you, like our intention is really just to help as many people as we can. Be happy, be healthy. And I believe that the more people who can find that balance, I don't like the word balance necessarily because it implies that, you're in this perfect place, but find what they need, because the more people who have that, then just it ripples outward, right? It ripples outward. Agreed. Do you have any final thoughts for us? Did I miss anything that you wanted to speak about?
No, I think that's awesome. And I think like you said, we're both just providing different but similar wellness opportunities for folks, and just trying to get the message out, right? Just continue to get the message out of getting people to move forward in the stuff that they want, whether it's business related, massage related, whatever the component is, and making sure that they are also at the top of that pyramid of caring for themselves, because everything else is impacted if they're not.
Yeah, they're at the top because everything, it's almost like actually they're at the base holding everything else up, right?
That's true. Yes.
I have to think about that pyramid analogy. It could go both ways.
For sure.
So that's awesome. If anybody wants to reach out to you, I have put your information in, or if they can't figure out where it is and they can't connect, they can always connect to me and I will connect them to you. I would love to do that.
Awesome.
And hearts for you, my friend.
Yes. Same to you.
So awesome to chat with you.
Yes.
And I'll see you on Monday.
I'll see you on Monday.
All
Yes.
right.
Keep the wellness mission moving.
Exactly. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks.